What the hell is a free company? In Final Fantasy XIV, free companies are akin to guilds in other MMOs. They are player-run groups that come together for various activities with different types of focus, from simply socializing, roleplay, crafting, and a lot of times, raiding. These raiding-focused FCs can be found in various data centers across the globe that has very active raiding scene, like Aether and Primal in NA, Light in EU, or maybe Mana in JP. These raiding FCs typically aim for early week clears or even world race progression, but only very few of them actually left a mark in Final Fantasy XIV's raiding history. So today we will be taking a look at some of them, particularly in the early days of Final Fantasy XIV. These are some of the legendary FCs in Final Fantasy XIV's history. But before we continue, my name is Aylaveen and I make weekly 14 videos. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing because my fish is pregnant and I need money for her C-section surgery. I need to put a disclaimer that I did not play during most of this FC's time, so my information is very limited to the ability of my business partners, which is Uncle Google, Lil Bro Reddit, and Madame YouTube. So if there's any misinformation or if you guys have any information that is not included in this video, feel free to leave a comment down below. So without any further ado, let's get into the first one. Order of the Bluegarter. This name might ring a bell for long-time players, especially if you have played the original Final Fantasy MMO before 14, which is Final Fantasy XI. Although they are not directly associated with it, the Bluegarter was the name of an MMO forum back then. And Order of the Bluegarter was the name for the guild that housed members from the forum in Final Fantasy XI and World of Warcraft. According to the official YouTube channel, the FC in Final Fantasy XIV itself was founded in October 2010, way back in 1.0, before A Realm Reborn in NA's Excalibur server, merging players from the original Final Fantasy XI OBG members from Bahamut and WoW's OBG members in Azara. OBG was the first to pave the way for Final Fantasy XIV's raiding scene, taking the world's first Coil of Bahamut Turn 5 to Eternia, which was regarded as the first real raid back in the day. It takes 65 days, which stands as the longest world first to date due to the whole thing being a brand new experience for the players. The raid was gated by item level, no party finders, latency issues, and bugs all across the board, which makes this achievement all the more impressive. They continued their impressive feat in second Coil of Bahamut, taking the world first again by killing Nail in 19 days. And although they lost their momentum after the release of second Coil of Bahamut Savage to Lucrezia, OBG continued to compete at the highest level till early days of Heavensward, where some of their members went separate ways to other raiding teams. But the legacy that OBG created as the frontrunner of the scene who paved the way for the raiding scene will never be forgotten, and that's what makes this FC legendary. Number 2. Elysium. Elysium was founded during Heavensward for the Alexander raid tier, notably by previous members of Collision that went neck to neck during SCOP World Race with OBG and Lucrezia like Layla Bell, Muni Evans, Leroy, and Volt. During the peak of their popularity, Elysium was one of the biggest stack of top raiders in the world. So big that during the world race, they sent out multiple teams that always placed very high, if not winning the world first on its entirety. Some of the most notable members apart from those founding players mentioned before includes the likes of Sfia, Sindulf, Kionu, Zeppe, and even Mr. Happy himself. Throughout the Heavensward tier until the early days of Stormblood, Elysium dominated the raiding scene, but they are most notable for being the world first during what some of the best raiders in the world regarded as the hardest raid tier ever, Gorgeous. Very tight DPS checks combined with very low enrage timer makes it very difficult to clear the fight. Even worse, back then, cooldowns didn't reset when you die, which makes it even longer to re-engage. During the Gorgeous proc, Elysium lost the first floor A1S to Lucrezia, but they soon took over on A2S, to the static breaking A3S Living Liquid, and winning A4S and the Gorgeous tier entirely after a very long 34 days with Team Updog. And although winning Gorgeous was huge, Team Updog disbanded due to personal life issues. But with the amount of high-quality raiders that NA had at the time, they quickly reformed and continued their dominance throughout the second Alexander tier, Midas, by killing Brute Justice in just 17 days. Moving to the last tier creator, Elysium was very ready to win the whole Heavensward tier with 4 teams composed of NA's best players. Unfortunately, they fall short with the rise of Angered FC from EU, who takes the world first with Team Stone, while Elysium takes 2nd place with Team Another One, 4th place with Team VS, and 8th place with Team Sad Boys. And although they didn't win the last one, having 3 teams on the top 10 just proves how dominant Elysium was in Heavensward. Angered FC then continued their streak by winning the first Stormblood tier, dealt escape with Elysium only taking 7th place with VS, a major loss in Elysium standard. After that, the devs announced the first ever Ultimate UCOP and Elysium came prepared. They did contend quite high but fall short to Team Unnamed from JP by finishing 4th with Team Gabagool. But even though they haven't won anything in a while, Elysium was far from over, with the formation of a new team called Wheelchair Emoji, which later became the core members of the legendary team TPS. Wheelchair Emoji took Sigmascape by storm, winning the world first by killing Kafka in 08S in just 18 hours. Soon after Sigmascape, the second Ultimate UU comes around and Elysium was very prepared by bringing out several teams. And although they lost to Entropy, they did claim the 2nd and 3rd place with Wheelchair Emoji and Team Shaggy Fusion. An impressive feat by itself to have 2 teams in the top 3. During this time, Entropy is starting to get a major hold of the scene, and while Alphascape was pretty tight and Elysium winning the first 2 floors, they ultimately fall short at the end with Entropy winning the whole tier, and Elysium placing 3rd with Team Cowboy Emoji. A trend which continues to the new expansion Shadowbringers, with the first Eden's Gate tier in which Elysium placed another 3rd, with Team Free-to-Play that marked the end of Elysium's era, with the core members leaving and making new teams and FCs such as Radiance. Number 3. Lucrezia. Different from NA or EU, Japan raiders usually flocks around link shells instead of free companies. Top players come and go, forming different teams for world progressions around those link shells. But amongst them, to the free company that has been around since the very beginning of Final Fantasy XIV, and that is Lucrezia. Based on their lodestone page, Lucrezia was formed in August 27, 2013, the same day as the official release of Realm Reborn, so I would assume that the friend group probably has been around for much longer, but there's no official information to be sure about it. The most prolific member and the face of the FC that everyone knows is Darkwishuya, who also served as the longtime raid lead for the group. The other well-known member is the legendary figure Is Renard, who continued to be a well-known figure of the JP raiding scene in and out of Lucrezia FC. With the release of patch 2.3 Defenders of Eorzea, a new raid difficulty level was introduced for the very first time, a twist to the last raid tier called Second Coil of Bahamut Savage. At this point, people was sure OBG will continue their dominance in this brand new raid difficulty. Little did they know that a storm from Japan is approaching. Lucrezia starts the very first Savage tier with full gas no break, taking the world first on all floors from T6S to T8S and eventually killing Nail in T9S within 42 days. After the very first Savage tier, Lucrezia continued their dominance over the raiding scene by winning the world first final coil of Bahamut in just 5 days, ending ARR as one of the best raiding FC in the world. With the new expansion Heavensward release on the horizon, Lucrezia came prepared for the world race for the very first Alexander Savage tier Gordius, which was proven by winning the very first floor Oppressor A1S. But unfortunately, due to internal struggles within the FC, Lucrezia lost their momentum, and with that, the whole tier to the newly formed Elysium. Lucrezia's poor form continued throughout Heavensward, which prompted this tweet from Lucrezia's Twitter page in January 5, 2016, stating their disbandment. The raid lead Darkwishuya also took it to Twitter and said, "The reason for the disbandment of the raid group is because of my poor management and personality issues. Therefore, I would like to apologize to the members of the raid who got affected by this. It has nothing to do with anyone causing any trouble, nor does it have to do with being bored with Final Fantasy XIV. I would like to believe that even after disbanding, we are able to build a new community with new members for raid composition in the future." And with that, the chapter of the legendary JPFC that once shaped the game has forever been closed. Or so we thought. Following the announcement of the new expansion Endwalker and subsequently the new Ultimate Dragonsong's Reprise that has been taken away from Shadowbringers due to COVID, on December 1st, 2022, Lucrezia's Twitter posted, "Raid Team Lucrezia will resume activities with the goal of becoming the world first. In conjunction with this, we are recruiting team members to help tackle the ultimate raid that will be implemented in patch 6.3. And so, the legendary FC reformed under the same lead, Lucrezia, after a very long 6-year hiatus from the world race scene. Slowly but surely, they started to grind again throughout Endwalker, and although they have yet to be able to compete with the current reign of Neverland, like Lucrezia fashion, they managed to take world first on the new game mode Criterion Savage Alo Island in patch 6.5. And on the latest Dawntrail expansion, Lucrezia managed to rise as a top contender once again, finishing the very tight race of Arcadian Light Heavyweight Savage on the 3rd place. And so we are once again blessed with the legendary FC coming back into the scene with flames blazing, and it will be exciting to see what they can bring on the next races throughout Dawntrail. So what do you think of these legendary FCs? I know there's other amazing free companies that we have yet to talk about, so if you want part 2 of this video, please leave a like and let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!